Alright guys, welcome back to Regeneration X and another episode of Tardis Talk, in which we'll be taking a look at episodes 4 and 5 of the Doctor Who spin-off class titled Corner of a Lonely Heart and Brave-ish Heart. Of course, I'm not alone as I'm joined by fellow Regeneration X member Elle. So Elle, what were your initial thoughts on this two-part episode?
I was kind of torn on this one. I don't know if it's because I really enjoyed the previous episode or whether it was the kind of like the Pell aliens or the acting from the dad. Things kind of felt a bit off. I loved people like Quill and April, but I think overall it kind of felt a lot more weaker than the previous episodes.
I agree with you on that. I think the last week, 2 weeks ago when we had episode 3, I really got into that because it was all focused primarily around Tanya and her father. And when you've got two people in a room and you've got that sort of dialogue going between them, it's really easy to follow and get invested in. What I think was the downfall of these two episodes was that there seemed to be so much going on, because you've just mentioned a few of the little things there. We had April's dad come into it. We had this relationship with her and Ram, them getting nude together. And Mum walking in on it. We had the Petals coming to take over the Earth. The governors are now appearing. We've got everything going on with Charlie and Mateos, and it just felt there was so much going on, and they were trying to cram so much into it. Yes, it was over 2 episodes, and I'm glad they did try to do that rather than put it all in one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think you could have saved quite a lot of this to go for later episodes. Because we haven't even mentioned the fact that April goes to the Shadow World. She takes on the leader. She becomes the king of the Shadow Kin. There's so much going on here. It just, I don't know, it felt really hard to kind of follow everything.
Yeah, definitely. And especially like when you list it all out like that, it just proves like how much there was. Especially like when we had like the second part, it kind of felt like watching an episode of like Lord of the Rings. Like there was like Mount Doom and then there was like Saruman. I kind of forgot where I was going. They even had like a Lord of the Rings pun, so.
They did? What was the Lord of the Rings pun?
It was the whole thing about like follow me Frodo and things, which I thought was brilliant because it definitely looked like Mount Doom and things.
Oh, see, I missed that. I didn't quite catch it, but I'm sure Tanya would have, because I did pick up on that line. So maybe Tanya would have got it. People like me, it just flies straight over my head. So there you go. That's our initial thoughts on that episode. We've kind of got a lot as we move forward to the characters. A lot of April's backstory. And like I said, there was so much going on. So to kind of recap that, we'll learn the reason that, her mother's in a wheelchair. That was down to her father trying to kill both himself. Well, I guess he wasn't trying to kill the rest of them, but he was trying to kill himself. However, he had April and her mum in the car, and that caused the accident, which left her mum in a wheelchair. And it also explains why April didn't answer the phone when she got that message from her dad in a previous episode, which I think was something that you actually picked up on.
Yeah, I think for me, the bad thing about this, because there was so much going on, it kind of like overshadowed like how serious that was. And by the end of the second part, it kind of didn't feel a big deal that he tried to kill him. Fair enough, like there was a whole redemption thing between him and April, but I think if they just focused a lot more on that in the episode alone, I think it would have felt a bit more heartfelt and things. It just kind of felt a bit off and a bit too normal for me.
Well, that's what I kind of mean about the previous episode in regards to Tanya and her father. We got a real good sense of what was going on in the relationship between the two of them, and that was only sort of briefly in the start of it, how they were getting on. This is here, it's the entire thing where it doesn't really touch on, the actual feelings and how things are going, the reasons behind it. It's just kind of gloated over. It doesn't really go into too much detail. And I think by the end of it, you kind of think, well, he did try and kill her. I can understand why she sent him away. But I don't know, I feel like there was so much more that they could have actually gone into. And yes, he did try and redeem himself by going into the Shadow Realm. But when he was there, did you not get the impression that he'd only followed the other people through because they went through? It didn't feel like he was doing it. He was like, I'm going to go in now. Yep. Going to go in. Any second now.
I really wasn't fussed on his character as a whole. It kind of reminded me a lot of Rumpelstiltskin from Once Upon a Time, him being the whole coward, but I definitely think it's done a lot better in Once Upon a Time and how they go about that kind of bond and the cowardliness. And I don't know, he was a really strange character, and I don't know what the hell they were going for. It kind of felt I don't know, it kind of felt like it was supposed to be like some drunk idiot or something at some times, which I don't think what they were going for, but I don't know, I think like you said, I think there's a lot more they could have done. Don't get me wrong, I did enjoy both episodes, but I think like we've said it, I think there's far too much going on, and an episode based just around April and her dad's and her mum's connection and things and what they'd been through would have benefit a lot more than kind of doing the Shadowkin. I think if they'd have just done the Shadowkin thing right at the very end and focused on kind of like the trauma that her mum had gone through and things, I think it would have worked a lot better than kind of like spreading it out through 2 episodes along with like Petals and Charlie and Matthias and things. There was just far too much going on.
There was, I think, like you just said there, if this was solely about April, her dad, Ram, her mother, and then the Shadowkin stuff, it might have worked a lot better because you can concentrate on that. But then we kept cutting away to the sort of side plot, which was Charlie, Miss Quill, the Petals, and then the governors. So I think in general, there was just too much going on. I think that's why I kind of struggled with this. It's too much going on for me to handle.
Yeah, definitely. And there was far too many Petals.
There was, and they just kept multiplying. That's the whole thing. So as we move through the episode, one of the things that we actually see in regards to the characters themselves was the effects that it was happening on April and the Shadowkin from actually sharing a heart. So their feelings become somewhat intertwined. April takes on the King's more aggressive side, trying to kill her dad, and the King, he takes on April's loving side, shall I say? What did you make of this? It felt quite Torchwood, the fact that it's getting quite adult entertainment here.
See, I really, really love the aggression side and like her having the swords, and then kind of when the aliens were getting the freak on, it was a bit like, do we really need to go down this route? And it was kind of like another Ram and April moment that kind of felt didn't need to happen, or it didn't feel right for me.
Yeah, it did seem out of place. It was really quick as well for them to suddenly get into that situation. 1 minute she kind of ignores him at school because she's got a lot on her mind, and then the next minute she's in bed with him. So yeah, that kind of escalated a little bit quicker than I thought it would have done.
Well, it's the easier today. Just look at Charlie and Matthias. Like, I think they only knew each other a few days and they're in bed and things, and now he's living with him and anything can happen.
It's a whirlwind romance, isn't it? I think Miss Quill kind of summed it up when actually no, it wasn't. It was the governor, wasn't it? That says, young love. It's crazy, isn't it? Miss Quill just didn't want anything to do with it. So I don't know. I think it's a weird one. I think a lot of the relationships that we're seeing here, maybe it's because there's so few episodes in the series that they kind of rushed them along. But to me, it does feel like really rushed, and I think that's probably why I haven't really got behind it.
Yeah, definitely. Like we've said over and over again, there was a lot going on. Whereas if they'd kind of like taken a backseat, taken things slow, and just focused on a few elements, I think it would have gone a lot further. And I don't know as well if it's because we've seen the Shadowkin again so soon. Kind of like at one point everyone was sick of the Daleks. Maybe it could be that. I'm not quite sure.
Maybe. I think that is a valid point as well, because that was one of the thoughts that I had in it. Like, we're in episode 4 and 5 now, and this is like 3 episodes now dedicated to the Shadowkin. And we don't know how many there's. I think there's only like 10 to 12, something like that. So it's a lot of episodes, and we're only halfway through. So by the end of it, we could be seeing quite a lot of them.
Yeah, I definitely don't think we've seen the last of them. Don't get me wrong, I really like them as an alien, but I think sometimes too much of a good thing can make it bad.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You need it in moderation, and if you do that, then it works well. But if you just put too much out there, then people's just going to get sick of it a little bit too quickly. So in regards to aliens, this week, if we can call them aliens, I don't know if we really can, we've seen the world attacked by killer flower petals, eating away at the host and then multiplying after each feed, and that would eventually see the planet smothered in flesh-eating petals. That just sounds so weird. And they would eat all of humanity. Humanity would be doomed. But to stop it, we had the governors actually step in. So we now have a face for the governors. They had the idea that Charlie could actually use this weapon, the Cabinet of Souls, and that could actually obliterate and take out this entire race of killer petals. It just sounds bizarre. What did you make of it? Because we had that option, and we also had the other option, which was the outcome, where April become the king. and then she used the Shadowkin to actually destroy the petals. Which did you prefer? What did you make of the aliens? What is going on, Elle? What did you think?
See, I'm really torn on the whole petal thing. In one sense, it sounds so cheesy, but I don't know. I think the way it was done, I wouldn't say it was like imposing and scary, but it's definitely something that I was really intrigued with. And I think if that alone had just been a core element in the episode and not a lot of other things, I think that as well would have been brilliant, kind of seeing like they couldn't be destroyed and things. I think that would have been really good. But like we said, because there was so much going on, it didn't feel right. But I will say, the whole scene with Quill, Charlie, and the governors, it kind of reminded me a lot of the Osgood box from Doctor Who and that huge decision of like genocide and things, which I thought, yeah, again, although it was similar to Doctor Who, it was done really, really well and kind of stood on its own as a great moment. And it was interesting to see Charlie finally show some like emotion about his people dying and seeing the rage and things that Quill went through and really wanting to get revenge on the Shadowkin for killing everyone. I thought it was done really, really well, and I think it was definitely one of the best elements of the whole 2 episodes.
It really was. It was a good point in those 2 episodes, and like you said, that's a really good comparison, comparing it to the Osgood box. And just kind of touching on past comparisons, what I found when the episode first started, I think it was the first of the 2, what I got reminded of was an episode that you mentioned in the last one with Clara and the leaf, and the leaf blown in on the wind at the very start of it. This one, it felt very much similar, where we had the petals introduced in that way. So we've seen the petal blown around and eventually find its way to the House of April. So I thought that was a really cool kind of throwback. I don't know if it was meant to be, but I really enjoyed it. I thought that was really cool. So I don't know. In regards to the petals themselves, aside from them flying in on the wind, which I thought was cool, I wasn't entirely sold on them. I think just killer petals, it sounds a bit bizarre. It sounds a bit out there when you mention it. But I guess it does make sense. It was quite cool to see them just multiply. And the thought of, if they do multiply so much, what can you do? You can't destroy them. They're going to take over. There's no way to stop these. So in that sense, I thought it was a good alien. And it was good. Well, not a good alien, but you know what I mean. It was cool to see it kind of going through the stages where at first it wasn't really doing anything. Yes, it was biting people, it was multiplying, but there was no major threat. Then you seen her dad walk away and it shows you, I think it was a squirrel on the ground, and that had been munched to death by these petals. And then later on, it gets all horror movie-esque, where you see people running up against the glass covered in petals, blood everywhere, people lying in the street, just bodies covered in petals. It was quite gruesome. So in that regard, I think by the end of it, I thought, yeah, this is quite a cool alien to bring in. It does have that kind of horror feel to it. And yet that's not really something I would ever expect to be saying about some pink and white petals. It still sounds bizarre. Every single time I say petals, weird.
I will say it's all the design looked they done brilliant with the design and things of them. And I don't know, like, I really got, like, a buzz out of, like, when they landed on people and they'd kind of get, like, a razor sharp cut and things. I don't know why I was really intrigued by it, but I don't know, it was kind of done really well for all they had to play with. I think they'd done well with what they had.
They did. I think they've done brilliantly in terms of how they sold it. I think they've done a really good job with that. So that was actually something that I was impressed with. I like the fact you got a buzz off it, watching them get hurt.
Yeah, it was kind of nice seeing, like, the dead squirrel and then, like, the people smashing into the glass. Kind of felt zombie-esque, but with flowers.
It did in a way. It just brings out your sadistic side, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's all it was.
So let's move on then a little bit more through the episode. We mentioned Charlie and the cabinet. What I'm going to ask you, do you think he would have actually gone through with using it? Because we're seeing April step in at the very end. But if that wasn't the case, do you think you would have actually gone through with it? And who would you have used it on? Would you have used it on the petals? Or do you think you would have followed Miss Quill's advice and used it on the Shadowkin?
See, I think he was really, really going for the Shadowkin. I don't think the petals would have ever come into it for some reason. I think as the episode, like, progressed, you could see Quill kind of, like, breaking that barrier down, and they kind of, like, bonded over it a little and started to become a little bit closer, and then it just at the very end, April comes through. So I think that's going to be something we're going to see contested yet again throughout the episodes. I'm guessing that we'll probably see something in the finale or something. And he will finally use the box. But it was interesting to see that conflict within him, that should he use it on the Shadow King or should he save Earth, and which was like the right decision, kind of like the Osgood box. Is it humans or Zygon? Was it Petals or Shadowkin? I don't think there was a right or wrong answer, and it was interesting to see him like struggle with that burden of which choice to make.
It was really cool seeing that, and you could kind of tell, you know, that whole thought was in his head. Which should I go for? It was kind of tormenting him. But I'm going to go the opposite to what you said. I'm going to say that he would have used it on the Petals, because I think Charlie's a smart guy. We haven't heard his teacher's report. We never got parents' evening. But I would say he's quite a smart guy. I think he would have gone with the immediate threat, because if he's on Earth, then if he takes out the Shadow King, Earth's still going to get taken over by the Petals. He's going to end up dead. The Shadow King, they're in the Shadow Underneath world, so they're not an immediate threat. I would have said that he would have gone for the Petals. Do you not agree?
See, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's kind of because he comes off cold and things, like especially in the first episode. I kind of feel that he'd do what's right for him sometimes. I know, fair enough, he's got friends and things now who he wants to save, but I don't know. I think deep under all of it, I think we might see some selfishness from Charlie now and again. I definitely think, for all that I really do love Quill, I kind of think that she's the lesser of the two evils, and I don't know, I kind of feel that there's going to be a darker side to Charlie before the series is done.
Yeah, I think we could probably see that. I think he does have sort of dark elements in there, and I think they'd be quite cool if the show actually explored them.
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to see that, and it'll be interesting to see if the whole box thing and the souls and things come into play, because I know it mentioned as well that they could have destroyed all the Petals with one soul, yet Charlie didn't say that, and surely Charlie knows those rules, and why isn't he telling anyone? It's kind of like he's almost waiting for something else.
Well, I think he's torn between, you know, the fact that he could use it to potentially save a species, but at the same time, I think he really does feel lonely. That's the kind of what I got from these episodes. And I think he's holding on to that hope that the children's story that he was told about being able to somehow bring those souls back to life, that's the main reason why he doesn't actually want to use these, and he wants to keep them in that hope that someday he can actually resurrect these people and bring back the race.
Or maybe he just wants to kill the whole world and he's just biding his time.
Maybe. So you're going to go sadistic yet again. So
yeah.
Speaking of sadistic, let's talk the Shadow King, because it's the one thing that we haven't really covered too much. So finally today, we're going to talk the Shadow King, the Shadow World, April becoming the king of the Shadow King. What did you make of that whole situation? Because within this episode, we'll have April the Shadow King trying to separate from April and have them break up this connection between the heart that's kind of keeping them alive, keeping them connected. But then by the end of it, they're both in the Underneath world, they're fighting, they're doing battle, and April is suddenly king of the Shadow King. What did you make of it? Because before you even get to grips with it, she's then no longer the king. The king is back.
See, this is like another thing like I was really torn on. In some sense, I liked it. In some sense, it was cheesy. It's kind of good that we've got another character with kind of like paranormal skills and things. But then at the end anyway, she kind of loses it. So it's like we go through all of that and she's almost normal again. So it's like all that venturing to modern things. And it just goes and it's like, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see if anything else comes into play because of that link they had and things. But I don't know. It was nice to see that April's got this whole brave side and things, and she's willing to do what it takes to get things done. But at the same time, at the end, it kind of felt like, well, that was pointless.
Well, yeah, I think pointless is kind of the word I would use. I mean, I don't want to bash the episode because I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I did enjoy it as well.
But at the same time, it felt like we said, everything was a bit rushed. Because in the space of the episode, she's gone into the Shadow World. She's beat the king. She's become the king. She's commanded this entire army. And then she's lost the army. So I think it could have been stretched out over a few different episodes. And she could have maybe use that army to their advantage in other situations. But I guess at the end of the day, it's kind of overpowered if they come up with any force, and then she just uses it to annihilate them. But I guess the question then would be, would she do that? Because at the end of the day, if she's the one that's then annihilating all these alien races that attack them, is that then her in the sort of bad situation, the bad guy?
Well, that's kind of what I enjoyed with it. I think that's why I was a bit more disappointed and a bit iffy on it, because she got it taken away. And it was kind of nice to see that struggle within her as well, like Charlie, of what could she do with that power. And she let the Shadowkin live for all he was locked up, but it was nice to see that for almost a second she was thinking about destroying him, and fair enough, it would have killed her, but just to get revenge. And then it would have been really good to see, would she ever use that power again, and what use would it be for? Would it be for personal gain, or would it be for the greater good and things? So I would have liked to see like that explored, and to see if, because we know at the very start of the series, April kind of starts out this really nice girl. So it would have been interesting to see like how that would have developed.
It would have. I think that would have been like a cool moment to kind of explore and see what she would do in the situation where she could potentially use it, but whether or not it was actually the right thing to do. So the only other thing I'm going to mention, and I thought this was a bit weird, but I can kind of make sense of it now that I look back on it. I thought it was weird how she suddenly goes into the shadow world, takes on the king, and she has all these skills to do battle, take out all these other shadowkin, and then defeat the king in battle. I thought that was a little bit over the top, considering, I've never even seen her use any kind of martial arts move or anything before. Yet suddenly, she's Buffy the Vampire Slayer in Mordor. It was all a bit insane. But to kind of give reason to it, I would say that maybe she learned those skills in the same way that she got them feelings from the king.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that could explain it? Or has she been taking secret martial arts lessons?
Well, that's the thing, like, you don't know how much of that is April or how much is the Shadowkin, so that would have been something else that I would have liked to explore, to see kind of, I hate to do it again, but it's another thing like I'm going to compare it to is like once upon a time, like everyone's got darkness within them. How much of that darkness is that person, and how much of that is April and things? I think if they'd have left that to progress even more throughout episodes, I think that would have been interesting to see how good April really is, and what attributes from the Shadowkin were hers and what were his. I think that would have been good. Because we don't really know an awful lot about April for all. We've had like this backstory and things, and we know she plays the violin and things. We don't know an awful lot about her and what she is capable of, so.
Well, she's obviously got that aggressive side because she snaps her violin strings. She really went for that one. So it would have been cool, like you just said, to kind of explore that and see how much of April is actually being affected by this, how much of it is April, how much of it is the Shadowkin actually affecting her. But I think now that the connection's gone, I think we're kind of back to April. So would you agree that maybe what we're seeing now is fully April, is away from them effects?
See, I think that is something we probably still will explore. I think that she may fall back on using the excuse of maybe that something she's going to do is because of the Shadowkin, and it'll be interesting to see how much that experience has changed her and what kind of person she is now as to oppose like how she was in the first episode.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see how it develops and the difference between April post Shadowkin to how she actually was with the Shadowkin. So it's something that I'm going to be looking forward to actually seeing how they progress it. But guys, what was your thoughts on this? What do you make of it at home? That was our initial thoughts on the 4th and 5th episodes of Class. But let me know what you think about it in the comments. Tweet us at Tardis_Talk with your favourite moments, and we'll leave you with our quote of the week. So until next time.
Bye.
Ram said April's body's been taken over by the Shadowkin. This always sounded kind of funny. I think they had sex.
Ram and the Shadowkin?